All right. As always, Espen is right.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Um, so I'm just going to dive right in. I won't take up too much of your time and try to be respectful of it. So first things first, this is, for context, the hackathon. And what the hackathon is a great way to start engaging with the Concordia environment, the agents, the entire process of development. It allows a couple things. It allows, one, you to get a head start, earn some money, and win a hackathon. Two, it prepares you for what I'm going to talk about next, which is the NeurIPS 2024 competition. And three, it allows us to get a lot of feedback on what works well, what doesn't work well. And so as you go through the competition, please record everything that's like, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, this could have been explained more clearly, that kind of thing. So really, really important that we collect your feedback through the competition as well. For context, we are going to be launching something called the NeurIPS 2024 Concordia Hackathon or Concordia Challenge. And what this is it is an extension of what you're doing now. We are using the Concordia environment with a couple more environments. So, like you're using pub coordination, um, haggling, etc. And we are doing an extension of that, adding in additional environments, adding in additional scenarios, and we are opening it up to a very wide community, trying to recruit a number of people over the course of a couple of months to really go into the details and develop really robust and cooperative agents. This is going to happen over a couple of phases, and I will get into the details of the NeurIPS competition in a moment. Before I do that, I want to talk about the hackathon, the submission process, and the evaluation process. So, first of all, we have this submission process. Submission process is outlined here and has a little bit of description about how agents are going to be evaluated and what happens. Read through this. It also gives terminology help with links to the paper on things like the game master and how the memories work. And it explains the two phases of the competition, which is a development phase and an evaluation phase. The development phase is what we're in right now. This will go through Sunday at midnight for Eastern time. I think it's 4 o'clock UTC or something like that. And that is where you are developing your agents and you're submitting them for review. This is your point of iteration. This is the length of the hackathon. The evaluation phase kicks off on Monday, and we will spend a couple of days running through more advanced scenarios, evaluating your agents against a suite of held out scenarios. So just a quick reminder, as Rakshit just went over, you have sort of environments. Within those environments, you have scenarios which define complexity and different roles and different flavors. We have some held out versions of those, which we will apply to your agents. And then we will be able to establish winners. Winners are going to be an ELO-based ranking system, so kind of like chess, with the median being 1500, and you either go above or below that, and your position in that table is going to be comparative to other folks. It will be based off of a series of normalized and random scenarios that your agents will be put into. They will also play a number of characters in each scenario. So they could be a background agent or a focal agent. And so we'll be able to come up with those final results during the evaluation phase. I want to make really, really clear that as we go through and we produce leaderboards and we give feedback on who's sort of performing well and what agents are performing well comparatively, this does not have any, this is not your final position. It is a strong indicator of how well you're going to do in the final evaluation, so it definitely matters, but it is not the final position. So just because you are top of the leaderboard at the end of tomorrow doesn't necessarily mean that you've won the competition. So I just want to be super, super clear about that. And the other thing I wanted to be clear about is that the agents that you develop and submit are going to be perfect for a perfect starting point for the NeurIPS competition, which kicks off on Tuesday this week. So we might actually take some of the agents that are submitted and use them as baselines for submissions to get the ball rolling on the actual NeurIPS competition. So, iteration cycles in your own development. These are just some tips on how to get feedback faster. The leaderboard is not going to tell you feedback on what tweaks are going to be good for your agent. It is going to tell you a comparison on how you're doing when looking at yourself in a crowd in comparison with other folks who are submitting agents. But it is not the like information feedback cycle that you should be looking at. To do that, you should look at the final score, which is available in the Colab, or you can run the full evaluation script, which is linked there with some helpful command line arguments there. This is actually the same script that we'll be running. We'll just be running it with additional scenarios in there. For the actual submission, you're just going to click this form. You're going to do something that's really important to us, which is to fill out our DEI survey. And then you're going to add in your team name or individual name. You're going to add in a unique agent titled file up here. So just one Python file. And then that is going to be the agent that you submit. If they have very similar names, we'll probably just grab the most recent one because it is expensive and it does take a little while to run through the full evaluation process. And then there's also a place here that you can just add feedback about the hackathon, whether that's something was broken, errors you got, or things that could have been made more clear. So if you don't have an agent ready, but you wanted to give some feedback, this form is also available for you to do that. And you can just basically add in your feedback. Don't worry about submitting a file, and then we'll collect that. Okay. Any immediate questions about the submission process? Yeah, these links are available in the Hack and Chat talk. And you can always ask Archana, or they're also available on the Hackathon website. All right. No big questions there. I mean, it's literally just a Google form, so hopefully that's easy, simple, and to the point. So this, going back to the presentation, what I essentially linked to is a submission process guide. There's going to be a leaderboard, but it's not representative. We'll probably do it once today and once tomorrow, given costs and the amount of time that it does. And then fill out the DEI survey. This is very important for cooperative AI, data rights, those kinds of things. You don't actually have to fill out questions you're not comfortable with, but it is important for us to capture this information. So please, please, please fill it out. You just have to do it once for the weekend. Now I'm looking to, maybe I go to, now I'm going to go through key resources. And these are essentially just like, if you want to go deeper into the theory, deeper into why we're doing what we're doing, how it fits in the context of AI safety, why this matters, etc. These are great links for you to have. They also help you as you develop your agents. One in particular, and this highlighted in blue, is the demo of agent development, which is front and center on the site. I assume you've all have seen it by now, but this is a great thing to get really accustomed to. I also recommend that as you go through the development process, you revisit things like Sasha's initial presentation, which outlined the theory, because that is going to make a lot more sense as you've played with the environments a little bit more. Now we get to the exciting part, the NeurOps competition. So the hackathon is largely considered sort of a precursor or a trial for the NeurOps competition. It'll be very similar format, 2 phases, development phase, evaluation phase. It will be the same submission, different links, different site, etc. So we'll send those out when the competition launches. But essentially, you'll be uploading an agent file, and then we will run evaluations on those to have a much wider audience and a big leaderboard that we update every day to make sure that people have feedback. And we're also going to be continue to add new scenarios and environments through the month of September. So you'll be able to test your agents in new ways across the entire competition, but definitely through the month of September. And that also means that if you have feedback about environments or about model performance or those kinds of things, we have some time to really implement that feedback, hear you, listen to you, and make sure that things are adjusted so that this runs smoothly. The timeline of the contest is between September 10th and October 31st, is the amount of time that you have to develop and submit your agents. After October 1st, we transition over to the evaluation phase, where we as the Concordia team will run advanced analytics as well as the evaluation scripts on all of the submitted agents, figure out who the top ones are, and probably play some sort of competitive competition with them where you pit them against each other and include multiple in the same scenario. But more details on that will be unveiled during the competition. So that'll be a bit more of an advanced evaluation phase and analytics phase where your agents are really, really put to the test. And then the finalists will be notified and invited to come to the NeurIPS workshops, where we will announce the winner at the actual NeurIPS conference. If you're not familiar with NeurIPS, NeurIPS is one of the top neuro machine learning conferences that many thousands of people go to, and you can submit papers for. And yes, is generally one of the best computer science conferences in the world. So it would be a great experience to come to that, and we will invite you and announce the winners. About the contest, so it's a very similar team: Google DeepMind, MIT, UC Berkeley, UCL. I've linked the contest proposal, which is sort of like a formal NeurIPS application paper that we wrote to say this is what we're trying to get out of it, this is what we're doing. So I wanted to link that there. So like full transparency, this is exactly what we're trying to achieve and accomplish. So that could be an interesting read for you. There are more prizes. So there's 10K in prizes for top performers, as well as travel grants if we invite you to the NeurIPS competition. There will also be, and this is, I think, probably the most exciting thing, at least to me, but as part of the workshop, there's going to be a report. So we're going to do a full, basically, NeurIPS paper, extended paper on what the competition was, what the key results are, what things performed well, do full analysis, different environments that performed well, etc. And people who design the best agents have the opportunity and the chance to be considered collaborators on this report. So there is an option for, if you're able to add a ton of value or develop the best agents, that you're actually included as a collaborator or potentially an author on a paper with great organizations such as Cooperative AI Foundation, Google DeepMind, MIT, Berkeley, etc. So really, really great experience there, and certainly exciting for young researchers or early stage career professionals who are looking at getting their hands dirty on producing papers. I did want to take a moment to contextualize this in cooperative AI, as this is really at the core of what we're looking at, which is like, what is cooperative AI? What do we think and why are we doing it? And how do we think it plays into the world? I have a full extended list of slides here, which I'll share. I'll only spend a minute or two because I know we're running short on time and I want to be able to take questions and then let you get back to hacking, because that's why you're here. But cooperative AI is essentially, like, we see a world coming of advanced multi-agent systems. We see it happening now. We see it happening in the future. They're going to be deployed in increasingly high-stakes situations, and understanding as much as possible about agent interactions seems incredibly important. Cooperative AI is about managing the risks from these systems. It is about looking at multi-agent interactions, being able to identify and mitigate failure modes, and really thinking about both the risks and the positives of what we can unlock and use within cooperative systems from multi-agent systems. The third thing that we always like to talk about and plug is that there just aren't enough people working on it. This is a very neglected issue because there isn't an obvious single owner. Like an individual lab working on cooperative systems between different models and models of disparate ability doesn't have the same focal point as individual alignment or for AI safety. So this is a neglected problem, one that we are really trying to build the field and awareness of, because most people acknowledge its importance but are unsure of where to start, and we're providing that opportunity and trying to really do some field building at Cooperative AI to get people out there and working on this very, very, very important problem, the one that I think is the most important problem. If you'd like to talk about that more, feel free to reach out to me directly on my email that I just posted in the chat. I'm happy to talk about Cooperative AI all day long. So where does it sit in this like broad field of alignment? And we sort of identified that making AI go well involves both technical and non-technical work, and cooperative AI sits in this like multi-agent section of technical work next to and alongside things like robustness, interpretability, and AI alignment. There are lots of different things about cooperative AI, but just very briefly, evaluating capabilities and propensities of models is really what we're doing here. We are trying to, with the Concordia Contest, put agents out in really complex, very hard to come to cooperative solution, optimized solutions in different scenarios. And we are trying to figure out what are the underlying recipes for things that work well. How do you build agents that really deliver this sense of deep cooperation. What fails about that? What performs well? And all of this data that comes with it, all this metadata that comes with your evaluation. So even if you're producing bad agents, it's extremely valuable. If you're producing the most cooperative ones, it's even more valuable. And we get a really deep understanding of what are the risks here, what are the benefits here, and what really comprises a cooperative agent. So this is very much a opening the door to how language models engage with each other. And as we head towards this world, the work that you're working on right now, this hackathon and the Concordia environments in general, will really help build a foundational base of knowledge for what this means. So there are lots more slides to go through on cooperativeness, and I encourage you to click through them as you like. We'll make that available, but I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions about the evaluations, about the submission process, or generally about where this contest sits and how it matters for cooperative AI.
Yeah, thank you so much for the great presentation, Chandler. I think like it gave a really good insight into what's coming. And yeah, firstly, clearly a lot of work for cooperative AI starting from next week, I guess. But yeah, I'm excited for the main competition as well and the main, at NeurIPS. I'm wondering, like, in NeurIPS, what kind of additional scenarios and environments will be added, especially in this development phase, right?
Yeah, so we have 4 environments available to you all for the hackathon, with like haggling, label collective action, pub coordination, etc. We'll have additional environments available, so things that add different uh, cooperative challenges. For example, there might be things like the risk of collusion or different game theoretic solutions that are fundamentally different for how you achieve like cooperative listening environments. So we're trying to keep the hackathon a little bit more narrow with the 4 environments, and then we're going to expand that through the competition to see how agents perform across a breadth. So you're going to see new environments and you're going to see additional scenarios because complexity changes quite a bit with little tweaks within these environments. So you'll see different representations of different uh, sort of like games or game theory games. We talked a little bit about, or Roxy talked a little bit about representing like Bach or Stravinsky or like iterative prisoner's dilemma variations, so that you'll see more of those come to the forefront and potentially more complex environments come to the forefront as well. And if you are interested in developing environments, that is also a way to potentially be included in that report. So if you think that would be a very fun activity for you, the code base is open source. Feel free to, just like you have the agent factory, there are different environments that use the code base, and you probably are going to have a pretty good understanding of how it all works by the end of this hackathon. So feel free to develop your own environments that we can really, and then you can submit. You can feel free to email me if you want feedback on them. And those could be used if they're done before sort of the end of September in the actual NeurIPS contest.
Yeah, super cool. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to drop them on the chat or also raise your hands and I'll invite you to speak. Okay, yeah, I actually have another question around the evaluation process, right? I'm wondering, like, how exactly is the scoring done? What's the scoring consistency in terms of different scenarios?
Yeah, so each environment has a different scoring system. So, for example, pub coordination generates a score. Labor collective action generates a score. And those are environment specific. These scenarios impact how hard it is to obtain that score or add different levels of complexity for achieving that score. Then, for your agent score, you're going to be run across a variety of environments and scenarios to add a variety of depth and variation for both difficulty and types of problems that you need to solve. And all of those together combine to produce a score for your agent. And then for the leaderboard, what happens is we take all of the agents and all of their scores and how they performed across environments, and we put them in a script that calculates an ELO score for them, so positions them in respect to one another, and then that produces the leaderboard. There is some normalization and clever things that go on with making sure that everybody's difficulty is normalized and accounted for, so people aren't being assessed on higher difficulty situations without that being taken into account. So it's a little bit more complicated, but both of those scripts are available in the open source code base. If you would like to know exactly pretty much what we're doing, with the exception of the held out scenarios. Yeah, those are available in the modular section of the Concordia Contest GitHub repo.
Got it, yeah. I guess that's pretty much it. I had one broad level question, but I'll wait in case anyone else has any questions. Okay, so I don't think as of now. So my last question was I know someone talked about how you know, cooperative agents can be used for climate change negotiations, but I also wonder in you're obviously doing a lot of these contests now, but could you explain how this framework might be sort of applied to real world cooperation problems outside this competition as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the wonderful thing about Concordia is that it can be made as narrow or as structured, or as wide open as you would like. So the idea of general premise of having a game master, a number of different characters and agents, and then sort of like open season in terms of what text is produced and whatnot, means that Concordia in the future could be used for substantially more open-ended, more exploratory, and less on the rails decision making as what we have now. So consider this like iteration number one, or like the most narrow, the most very deliberate, where you're trying to find these cooperative, very calculated, very curated set of environments where you're eliciting a cooperation score. In the future, you might just have a game master that takes into account actions, and you can have really complex scenarios that you have agents taking on different roles, um, with different underlying memories, with different underlying characteristics, like the ones that you're developing and components, to work in some various and open-ended settings. For example, you might design an environment that is about negotiating climate change, and you ask one to take on the role of, China and Australia and the United States and the EU, and like you can get all these players, and you can just pitch them into a Concordia environment and have the game master hold the facts of the information in some sort of timeline, and that would be sort of a fairly uh, structured and easy implementation of Concordia. So feel free to explore that as well. But the general idea is that the ones for the contest now are about making sure that we understand the very fundamentals of the sort of like cooperative game theory side of things with language models. And then we have the opportunity to expand that in the future, given how Concordia was put together by the Google DeepMind team.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see more of these contests coming up even in the future, and have people sort of build on top of what we have done right now as well, and hopefully push the boundaries in some way.
Yeah, feel free to use it to do your own research or to participate in the contests. It is an open source library, so feel free to also make pull requests and build environments and try to submit those. And yeah, would be very excited to see what you all are able to come up with.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you again, Chandler, for taking out your time. And Chandler is available on Discord. So feel free to ping or also ask questions on help desk or hack and chat. Yeah, awesome. Thank you again, Chandler. I hope you have a fantastic day ahead. And yeah, hoping to see you tomorrow too.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Bye bye.